First, one picture is the city that came down in that drainage, and then the other pictures are going down. Uh, some of the pictures are of the Arroyos coming down off the glaciers, and we've been trying to get that changed for a year. The last time it was changed, and we got some repercussion from the landowners up there. And but the village does have a right to go up there and clean that arroyo. They've got signed papers from the first owner, Cotton Girls, and then from Miss Manning, her daughter, and Miss Brown, and they've all signed papers to go in there. But then last time Ben went in there, he had a lot of trouble with Miss Manning and her daughter, and so but it comes into the village. But that ditch comes in and he signed the paper that Virginia Petroleum unit, Virginia Drum signed the paper, uh, Police Manning signed the paper, her daughter signed the paper, but when Dan went up there, I guess he didn't notify them, so, they need, the village needs to send them some kind of a letter, uh, and give them notice that they're going to.
Their property is right in the middle. I think we can even have a meeting. These red lines in this report are showing all the checks that were voided out in the drawer, but never voided out in our system. So that's what we did, is we went through and voided all those checks that were never gonna be mailed, never gonna go. Now, it's not really money that we have, but it's cleaning up. Just one. I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Baca, second by trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Chuleta. Yes. Thank you. Sentence of municipal court cash journal for June 2021. Any questions on that?
I make a motion to approve the municipal court cash journal for June 2022.
I'll second. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Brumble, second by trustee Chuleta. Trustee Baca.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Chuleta. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Brumble. Thank you.
So we're gonna call Michael Steininger. He's gonna give you an update on what we're doing as far as our cleanup plans and things. So I'm gonna let him do the talking. Oh.
Mexico Department of Finance, Michael speaking.
Hi, Michael. It's Candy.
Hello there.
So you are live in the meeting. So the floor is yours.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Michael Steininger. I'm Special Director for DFA Local Government Division. And since 2012, I've assisted over 60 counties and municipalities. Before COVID, 50 of those were done on site. I have a certified municipal official designation, and I also teach 7 of the finance classes for New Mexico Edge. So I've had a good amount of experience doing this. In particular to the village of Milan, a year ago in March of 2020, I was contacted by your auditor to see if we could provide assistance. And at that time, of course, COVID broke out and the governor issued a travel ban, thereby grounding me. Recently, on May 26th, Mayor Gonzalez has submitted a written request asking for assistance, which is how we got to this point where I'm now involved. Since most of you, I assume, if not all of you, are aware of the situation that the records are in and how it may have gotten there, I'm not going to elaborate on that. I want to focus on what Candy and I have been able to do since the request for assistance. We've made fairly good progress in cleaning up the balance sheets. Your balance sheets across the entire village have 132 accounts, of which Candy and I have completed 112 of them. That's the good news. However, the 20 remaining accounts are, of course, the problematic ones. There are 4 bank accounts, 2 in payroll and 2 in utilities, that have not been reconciled since June of 2020. So we have an entire year to go through those. You have 11 due from accounts, which I will elaborate on here in a moment. And there are 5 utility related liabilities that we just haven't had time to get to yet. So far, I have made 412 corrections to your records. I can't address how many corrections Candy has made since I don't see the work that she has done. But I know she's done a lot of it based on my direction and oversight. But I don't know how many she has actually done. The one thing I can tell you that I see as a common thread through all of this is that the village is not on a pooled cash system. And for those of you who may not be aware of what that is a single checking account that all the village's money goes through, or I should say most of the village's money goes through. There are certain requirements that separate checking accounts have to be held, like community development block grants and stuff. But it's a single checking account of which all the money flows through. The reason I say that is right now the village, as near as I can tell, has approximately 21 bank accounts and that does not include those that are held at the New Mexico Finance Authority. The result of having so many of those bank accounts is the village is relying overly heavily on transfers in, transfers out, due tos and due froms to basically keep its checkbooks balanced. And the use of a pooled cash system, a lot of that would happen automatically. So if the EMS fund needs to reimburse the general fund because general fund paid for something because maybe EMS hasn't received its annual funding yet. You write a journal entry and it's done. Right now, you would have to physically write a check, which means someone has to remember it to do it. You're incurring fees for writing checks. You're incurring fees for the depositing of it. And there's a lot of other issues that go along with that. I mentioned that there are 11 due tos and due froms. That's just on the balance sheet. I don't know how many transfers in and transfers out the village is using. However, I do know that collectively, all of them combined are $1.2 million out of balance. For every due to, due from, transfer in, transfer out, there has to be an equal and opposite offset in another account. And I've identified 90 of them so far that are all one-sided entries. And what I mean by that is somebody wrote a journal entry or issued a check and charged it to due to, but no due from ever got recorded or no transfer got recorded. Only half the transaction got done. And I've identified 90 of those so far, and there may be more. And the problem is that each one has to be looked at and researched individually. So the process of getting the 112 accounts that we have completed done were simple. These are going to be extremely time consuming and complicated. With Candy's assistance, we identified one problem that is currently still happening is your payroll company. They are calling in or emailing or I don't know how they notify you, but they notify you in advance of how much money you have to transfer out of the transportation account, the joint utility account, wherever you have employees, and deposit the money into the payroll account so that when they charge your account for the payroll and the taxes and everything, there's sufficient money. Fortunately, the village has never overdrawn their account because in several of them I've looked at, they are having you transfer less money than they are physically taking out of your account. And we have a call into them to find out why, because that shouldn't be happening. If they tell you that we need $100, they should take $100, not we need 100 and take 120. Fortunately, so far, you have, to my knowledge anyway, you have not overdrawn. But again, a pooled cash system would also alleviate this because you would not be having to physically move money around to cover the payroll. And so if the payroll company says they need 100,000 and they take 110,000, it's going to come out of your account automatically. You won't be short. So the one thing I have noticed is that there's a common theme running through a lot of the problems, and it gets back to the lack of a pooled cash account. The fact that you have 21 accounts is not unique to you. There are others who have them. Usually they're much smaller than you. They're very small communities. They're running on QuickBooks, which is not capable of pooled cash, and it works better to have separate checking accounts. But for a village of your size and of your complexity, I would really suggest you consider migrating over to a pooled cash system. Your software is capable of handling it. Everyone that is on Encode 10 that I know of uses it. We would have to set it up with Tyler to make it functioning before we started transferring the money. And when we're ready to do that, I will come back to the governing body and ask for permission to proceed with that, because we're going to need your okay to proceed with it, and then we will need your okay to start closing the bank accounts once we are comfortable that they are fully reconciled. There's no issues with them. We're not going to do anything before we're ready for it. Just to give you an idea, a transfer in and a transfer out should only be used if you're subsidizing a fund. Let's say, for example, the utility fund does not generate enough money out of its fees to operate. Maybe, or maybe you had a bad year of expenses and you don't have enough money. So general fund will transfer money over to maintain it. Again, it's intended to be a subsidy. It's usually a one-way transaction. The money that you transfer to NMFA to pay your the loan you have on the water rights and stuff, those are transfers that are coming out of general fund and going into the NMFA fund. Those are an appropriate use of transfers in and transfers out. A due to, due from works similarly, except for the fact your intent is to pay it back. Common examples are you received a legislative appropriation, and you know that those things are always on reimbursement, so you have to go and front the money to pay the contractor, submit the request to DFA, and then they send you a check. So a due to, due from would be that initial transfer from general fund to whoever's going to be paying that bill. And then when that final reimbursement comes back from USDA, DFA, whoever you're funding the program through, that final reimbursement then repays that advance and pays off that loan. So the primary difference is, do you intend to repay yourself, or is this a permanent transfer of funds? Due tos and due froms, transfer ins and transfer outs are not intended to balance your checkbooks the way that it is being done here. I don't know, like I said, right now I know it's out of balance by 1.2 million. And most of that is this year. I noticed the audit report says last year you were only out of balance by about $20,000. Now, in fairness, you've had multiple people involved in the process trying to work through these entries and fix them. Some of the entries were successful, some of them not so. They either made the situation worse, or they only had one half of the items. So it's not like this has just been going on and no one has been trying to fix it. There have been people involved, and some progress has been made, but like I said, as of right now, we're still 1.2 million out of balance. Because we're approaching year end, and I have concerns about the amount of time still left in order to get your final budget adjustments completed, your quarterly report completed, and then to work with Candy on getting the final budget updated for submission to DFA by the deadline. I've temporarily stopped working on the financial statements, and starting probably tomorrow afternoon, I will start working on your year-end stuff. Getting the quarterly report done, getting the bars done. I've already got a few. I think Candy has already addressed most of the budget issues, but these things roll from one into the other. I've been keeping your auditor, Robert, informed, so he is aware of what we've entailed and what we're finding. He is going to schedule your audit late to be one of his last clients done, probably in October. I know that's a little bit later than you guys would like, but it will give us the ability to try to get those 4 bank reconciliations done. As most, if not all of you are aware, your audit last year improved from a disclaimer to a qualified. I can almost assure you right now it is not going to get any better than that. My goal at this point is to not have it regress back to a disclaimer. If we can't get those checking accounts balanced and get good solid numbers, it's all but certain that's going to happen. So my number one goal after I get you your year-end stuff filed with the state to keep you in compliance on that is to go back and get your bank recs done. I'm not as concerned with the due tos, due from, even though they are out of balance significantly. Most auditors, Robert included, will start with, is your cash good? And as long as your cash ties out, the bank recs are good, there's no extraneous stuff in them, that's a very positive thing, and we can only go downhill from there. But right now we're not even to that point. So I'm going to refocus after we get your year-end stuff filed to keep that done. But again, the one common thing through all of this has been the use of the due to, due from, transfer in, transfer out. That is being used to keep your accounts and books balanced, and that's not what it's intended to do. However, I'm not going to ask the governing body for permission to go to a pooled cash system and start closing bank accounts until I am satisfied that we have got everything cleaned up. We know exactly where we stand, because obviously I don't want to close a bank account and then have checks clearing that I didn't know were there, or having checks bouncing because we didn't know they were outstanding. All of your accounts except for those 4 look good. I've reviewed everything that Candy has done on them. I corrected a few things from what Robert did as part of the 2020 audit. So all except those 2 payroll and those 2 utility accounts all look good as of June 30th, 21. So I don't anticipate any problems, but again, I am not going to come before you and ask you to provide permission to do something that I would not be willing to give if I was sitting in your chair and somebody was asking that of me. I just don't do that. And like I said, I've been keeping Robert informed, so he's aware of it. So you're going to be a little bit later, but if we can get him a trial balance by the end of September, then he still has time to come in October and do his audit, and that gives him October, November, and he can still submit it by the due date of December 15th, because obviously we don't want another ding for late filing. So at this point, I have no reason to believe that will be a problem. But we are going to need some time to work through at least those 90 transfers in and out that have to be looked at one by one, and then I'm gonna go through the bank statements. I haven't looked at them yet to even see what I'm getting into. But with that, I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. I stand for any questions that anybody may have.
Does this include what we went to the meeting at the bank about?
So our pledge collateral has been taken care of. They're giving us a certificate every month on how much they have us pledged for, so that will take care of that. So that is, this won't take care of that. What we're doing with Michael, we took care of that when we met at the bank, so that's taken care of.
Michael, this is Trustee Baca. I have another question for you.
Yes.
Would you be suggesting that we find another payroll company?
No, actually, at this point, I would not. Much to my surprise, you have the only payroll company that I have come across in all of my travels that actually pays everything that you have. Even most of the payroll companies will handle the federal stuff, they'll handle the state stuff, but they won't touch para, they won't touch retiree health care, they won't touch any of the voluntary insurances or anything, and you have a payroll company that does it all. what I find interesting, and I have not talked to Debbie at the county yet. My understanding is this is the same payroll company that the county went to shortly after I left there. So I'm not familiar with them, but if we can figure out why or how you're receiving one set of information and then they're taking something else, if we can resolve that problem, I see no reason to change payroll companies. That's a nightmare in and of itself. And no, until I have reason to recommend that, I would not. It's not even on my radar.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Would doing payroll in-house, would that be better than fanning it out to a company?
You'd have to understand.
You know, there was a time in my career when I believed that. I don't so much anymore, and because the rules on so much of this stuff has become so complicated and so involved. And then if you know, the beauty is if anything goes wrong, it's the payroll company's problem. It's not yours. I was doing work in a county when we got a notice from the IRS for $400,000 in back taxes because during the transition of finance directors, nobody was paying the IRS for the federal and the state withholdings. We had a similar situation in a municipality. I think theirs was only maybe $50,000-$60,000, but it was still a lot of money, a lot of penalty and interest, but it was 6 months of nothing being paid. And so I've kind of come around to outsourcing payroll because that way I don't worry about the taxes getting paid. I don't worry about the filings with the IRS. I don't have to deal with the W-2s and the 1099s. I don't have to deal with the W-2s at the end of the year. The payroll company handles all of that. So I'm no longer a fan of doing it in-house.
And for the pool checking account, once we get our trial balance updated or corrected, how long is that process? What would be the process on that?
The process to get that up and running is the first thing is you would either have to identify an account you already have and designate it to become the pooled account, or you could create a brand new checking account at the bank and start from scratch. My understanding is you probably already have a bank account that is well connected with tax and rev and with DFA and with everybody who sends you electronically payments, because that's a nightmare to change those electronic payments to you. With having that account, Tyler Technologies, the company that handles Encode, has to go in and set up the programming for it. It's already in the software, but they turn it on. They connect. You tell them what accounts you want to connect it to, what funds are going to be included in it, and then they set up all of the checking accounts. They set up the offsetting liability accounts, because similar to a due from, when I, for example, in any couple that has a joint checking account, both of you are putting money into it, but you're not separately tracking, well, how much is mine and how much is yours. In government, of course, you have to know how much everybody owns of that pooled cash account. So Tyler will set up all of those accounts. So if I deposit $50 into the account, it sets up a liability that says I owe Michael $50. If Candy deposits $100 into that account, it sets up a liability that says I owe Candy $100. So all 150 is tracked. They set all of that up, and then once we know it is functioning, then as the other bank accounts are reconciled, and if we can get a point in time where there's no outstanding checks, like right now, your EMS account, your law enforcement protection have no outstanding checks, that this would be a good time where we could contact the bank and say, close this account, transfer the money over to this account, and then from that point on, the system will handle the issuing of the checks and let the software keep track of it.
So like you could use like your general fund as the main fund, because that is the biggest fund that they use, right?
That is my understanding. I've never done a setup like this, you know, after a place has been so many years on the system. Usually we set these up when the software is installed. So I'm familiar with the process that needs done. I'm just not familiar with one that's been using the software, I think for 5-10 years, and is now converting. I don't believe there is any issues with the historical stuff because that will all still be there. Basically what we would be doing is saying, as of July 20th, we're going to close this bank account, transfer the money over to the pooled account, and then from that point on, the system will track it. The one thing that people do initially have concern over, I shouldn't say concern, they have misunderstanding, is once you excuse me, once you start using a single account, calling it general fund becomes misleading because it's not general fund. It is everybody's fund. It's the fire, it's the EMS, it is the law enforcement. So I try to start educating people to call it a pooled cash or a consolidated cash, because when you talk to somebody and you say general fund, they're thinking of that very specific fund that runs the government. They're not thinking of the fire and the EMS and everyone else. So when that gets operational, I start trying to educate people on not using the term general fund, because if you were to use that term to somebody like me or your DFA analyst, we're thinking that you're talking about your general fund, not the checking account that is, and I understand why people do it. It is the general because it's everybody, but there is very distinct terminology differences. And so I think on your financial statements, I even already changed it to be called pooled cash or consolidated. I forget which way I have it. But it would be, we would identify the accounts that once there's no outstanding checks, then we can easily convert it over. If it's an account that always is going to have outstanding checks, then of course we leave enough money in to cover those checks, and then when they all clear, then we close it out. Right now, I would not be willing to stand before you and ask to do that because I don't have good solid assurance that what it tells me is the outstanding checks is in fact all of the outstanding checks. Until we get through all of these due tos and due froms, I would not stand before you and ask you to make that commitment until I'm certain of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I don't think we have any more questions for you, sir. I do thank you for all that really good information, and thank you for responding and all for it.
All right, I thank you, Mayor, and trustees for this opportunity to update you on what's happening. I hope that the early part of next week I can get back to Candy or Denise and schedule that special meeting where we'll cover the bar, the quarterly report, and the final budget. And if we run into no problems and there's not a lot of questions, you can be in and out in probably less than a half an hour.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds
that
good.
sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Everyone have a good evening.
You
You
too.
too.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next we have the fire chief. For those that do not know, Daniel Uriarte is our new fire chief. Uh, and, hopefully he'll be our fire chief in many years.
That's a plan. I'll do my best. Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. To start off, you have my report there in front of you, should. We've had a total of 79 calls. 6 of those calls were fires. First one was a fire up on Mount Taylor. It was a little wildland fire, and we assisted the county fire departments up there with a tender to supply water. We did have a fire. They did respond to Mesita for that train derailment that you guys saw on the news. We did send one of our trucks out there. Keith did before he left. He went out there and again supplied water to help with firefighting efforts out there. Then we had 2 more here in the village, and they were just little trash fire. One was a fire in a barrel. This guy has been kind of a nuisance. PD's aware of it, and he lights a fire in the barrel and then leaves the property. It's right around the Clay Street area. We've been lucky enough to catch it in time, and it doesn't get any bigger than that. We haven't actually caught him doing it, but it's on the same property twice now.
Are we still in a no burn?
Yes, I do. The county is on a burn ban countywide. I'm following his burn ban because I'm by myself. If I allow these people to burn and they catch something on fire, I don't, right now, I've got volunteers, but they work full time. So most of the time, I'm the only one during the day that can probably respond. The rest of the calls were EMS, motor vehicles, and some public assists. I joke around with the other fire departments when they call us for water because I think they think Milan water is better. Thanks, Dory. We're continuing with COVID-19 vaccines. We're assisting the Department of Health and the School County Emergency Manager. We are not testing for COVID anymore. They seized that through the DOH because the pharmacies and doctors are taking over that. They're able to do that now. And the vaccines are kind of slowing down now too because they could actually come over here to the village and administer a vaccine if you request it. So those are down to 1 time a week. Trainings. I did go to Socorro a couple weeks ago and train for my instructor. I'm waiting for results on that. Between myself, the Chiefs Association, and all the other county departments, we have, through the Fire Academy, we have Hazmat and Fire One trainings scheduled starting at the end of this month. With my department, or our department, we have 1 person attending Hazmat, and I don't have anybody attending Fire One at the time. Through the EMS Bureau, we are there was a class put together to be an emergency responder, EMS license through the state, through the EMS Bureau. I've got 2 people signed up for that so far, which is good.
Your schedule.
That way they can start helping me with medical calls. Last month, Waterway of New Mexico came in and tested 50 hydrants in the village, which was great because we did have the well down, and Joe Ray was able to help me with that. They did find 5 hydrants to be out of service or not there. There was 1 that was removed because it was damaged, and Joe Ray's working on that, I'm sure. That copy of that report was given to Joe Ray, so that way he's got it on records, and hopefully we can work together on getting these hydrants up. now every year, we're gonna have them come in and do 50 hydrants every year. Every year we gotta have so many, we gotta have all of them flow tested and flowed and flushed. So putting it on a little schedule, we've got just around almost 300 fire hydrants throughout the whole village. Some of them are out on 605 and stuff, but that is our water system, so that considers that one's hydrants too. I'm putting them on like a schedule, like I said. Every year they'll do 50 at a time, so every 5 years they got to be retested, so then it'll just be a reoccurring thing down the road. I was preparing for State Fire Marshal. He came in and did a pre-inspection on July 1st. He says we're looking pretty good. Just had to get caught up on a few things that fell behind now that I took over. We should have it ready to go, and then we can have an ISO inspection survey done. Right now we're at a 4, which is pretty good. Most of the county departments around here are at a 4. I did receive today, and I forwarded it to Denise, the construction cost proposal for the remodel of the Station 1, the one on Airport Road. So we can start going forth with that and hopefully get that money spent. Today, actually, the State Fire Marshal grant applications opened up, so I will be applying for that annual fiscal year 22 fire grant to get some more money to help with that. And other than that, I do need some help. I'm asking if and when I can get the position that I previously had filled. I do need some help, and the community needs it too. But other than that, you guys have any questions? Yes. I've got 2 that are qualified and very interested. And I've actually got 3 that have come up and asked me if and when they do it, they would be interested. There won't be, that's the position I had, yeah. I could assign any one of them as assistant chief or captain, but if it's somebody that's qualified, then they don't have to be the assistant chief. They can just be the full-time guy with me. Yeah. Excuse me.
So you're wanting to hire somebody as soon as possible? Is that what you're?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the budget, I'm sure, because if that was my previous position.
I think there was, on the pay scale, I think there was for the position, for the starting salary on that. Okay.
I mean, I'm not demanding, but I'm asking you, please. It's
Tell me how
there.
many hours you put in and how many hours you got paid for.
Well, I put in, what did I turned in a timesheet to Jolene, and we had a discussion about it.
Yeah, she's right
Today.
behind you.
It was somewhere near 112 or 120 hours total for the 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I only get the 80 hours anyway. Right now I'm on call 24/7. And unless one of the volunteers that it's qualified, I am. But there's only one right now. He comes out and helps me on his days off when he can. Right now he's been on vacation for 2 weeks. Anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hello.
I was supposed to set him up this time, but he got ahead of me, so. You guys didn't have a monthly report for me? correct? I know Candy asked for it and we got a little busy, so I didn't get that over here. I do apologize, guys. Crazy this week. Any chance I get to walk closer to you or on tape, so,
Thank you.
So just so I don't forget, our new fire chief, he's already been in contact with me a couple times and he's picked up right up where Keith was at and actually gotten a hold of us on the radio and asked if we needed assistance. So we do appreciate that and that's awesome. And seems like we're going to work well together. And thank you. If you need anything from us, let us know. Did I give you an extra?
Here's the extra one.
Oh, thank you. All right. So what I did with this one, just kind of because we're at the halfway point. I was able to get the stats since I came out in February. January I wasn't here, so I didn't have a report. But kind of the same deal, but I threw in, these are our main numbers. But what I threw in was just from February to June. So the ones I highlighted, so I mean, you can see a huge jump. And I've been saying it the last couple of meetings. Offensive reports jumped up, area checks, and you can see the big jump in our total incidents through dispatch. A lot of this, I keep using a phrase, I keep letting you guys know it's getting a little more violent in our community here. So it's unfortunate because you probably all saw the newspaper article yesterday and about us being the safest community in the state. So this year, I don't know what the deal is, but we're seeing a little bit more violence and a lot more than last month when I was in here, guys. So hopefully we can turn that around. I have faith in our community here. We got an excellent community with excellent residents. So we'll get back to number one eventually. Just might take a little bit more time, but got a great community. So I believe in them and I believe in everyone else here. So a couple things on our notes that we have on here. One of our officers, Touchin, put in his resignation. His last day was July 11th. So I mean, wish him well. He did a lot for the community while I was here. A good officer. I made an adjustment. Officer Trivio put in his resignation as well. His last day is on the 23rd. Same deal, experienced officer that we're losing, one of our night shift guys. So we're losing a lot of experience with those two guys right there. But I believe we have 4 or 5 applicants looking to come over. We're still trying to work out some details with that right now. So they should, or they said they were going to do an exit interview. I don't really remember the process, but they should give us that or fill out a form on that. So if you guys get those or not, just I told them to be honest, put the feedback in there. You know, if they felt there was something I did, let you guys know. So just be on the lookout for those exit interviews. A couple of us met with the county. You know, back when Chief Salazar was here, they did a lot with narcotics with the sheriff's department. So we kicked around the idea of forming our own narcotics team. We got some guys with a lot of experience, myself included, but we just don't have the staffing to utilize surveillance, entry teams, things like that. So we got with the county, we got something on board with them. Myself and 2 sergeants will be points of contact with the county. With their team they have. They said they'll assist us with surveillance, running some operations. They have an entry team that we can use when we eventually get these search warrants because narcotics is everywhere. We have it in our community here and we're getting complaints. We just didn't have the staffing. So the county is letting us come on board and we appreciate that because they got a lot of experience, a lot of resources we're going to utilize. So we should be getting to the point where our narcotics or combating narcotics is going to be a lot better. So let's keep an eye out for that. But we appreciate them letting us come on board. Last 2 times I mentioned our laptops. So I'm being told that the purchase order is going to be given to me tomorrow from an outside entity. So that's not going to cost us anything. That's $17,512 that the village and my budget is at the police department is saving. So that should be coming in tomorrow. We should get those ordered. because right now we're struggling with laptops. We're kind of borrowing from here and there. But we're making do, but we should have 8 brand new laptops here in the next couple months. So at no cost. So we appreciate that. Dollar General got hit again, got burglarized. And it's not, you know, a lot of people are going to say, where's the officer at? Don't they have alarms? They do have alarms. Officer was there, geez, I think within 3 minutes. Okay, so there's like a response time. And he was on the other side of town, so he was still there pretty quick. This person went in and out in less than 3 minutes. So we do have video surveillance. We're going to follow up on that. I'm not sure if we got any leads or any on suspect, but there is a video, and we're already in contact with the county. Another thing they're going to help us out with, they have a lot more resources as far as cameras, trail cameras, surveillance, just a lot of ideas we kicked around. So hopefully we'll take care of that problem here soon. But just so you guys know and the public knows, we're taking that stuff seriously, and we're going to probably get some more cameras over there, maybe some better lighting, motion lights, whatever we can come up with. I keep throwing out the phrase about violence. I mean, 21 disturbances in domestics just in our village alone last month. That's quite a bit. That's almost 1 a day. Officers had to use force a couple times. We've documented our use of force with reports. We have opposite sergeants doing use of force reviews on them. From what I'm being told, the officers did a good job controlling or restraining themselves when using this force. Minimum force necessary, but my officers are getting attacked. One incident, the guy attacked one officer, and he was by himself. And I had a member of the community come and talk to me, and she said she felt bad. She didn't know what to do. Luckily, she called 911 and said, "Hey, this officer needs help." They started sending deputies and state police over, but he was by himself. So he did a good job, got the guy under control. But it's a lot of violence. You know, I don't know what's going on. If it's summer, COVID magically disappeared, everyone's saying, but we're handling our business. But I'm just telling you guys, it's getting a little violent here. Other agencies has come to assist. We've been lucky that they've been close when a couple times the officers were by themselves. And, you know, we're fully staffed, but the other officer at the time was tied up on another call where a couple kids in the community got jumped. So other agencies have come over to help, which is great. But what I'm concerned about is when they're not available and we got this officer by themselves. Okay, or we have no officers available. And that's not good for the community, all right? Because they're getting in a domestic or a fight, and we can't send anybody. And state police, county, even GPD has come over. If they're not available, it's going to be tough, and it's not going to look good for us. But we're getting there as soon as we can. We met with Core Civic. There's some issues with the procedures on handling calls. I know when Chief Salazar was here, they had something established, but that went away. So we met with their new investigator, a member of the gang unit, and we came up with a plan. So they had a new warden, new investigator. So we got that squared away, and hopefully got a good relationship with them and might utilize them and do some training here soon. So our training budget kicked in for paper, so I made some extra copies. So, you know, I was pretty excited. I finally got to make copies. So, yay. Getting a lot of anonymous complaints about officers wrongdoing or whatever the case is. So I've been handling those when they come in, but it's tough because they want to remain anonymous, which I understand. There's a fear of retaliation, whatever the case, but I can't talk to these people. So I don't know if we have a complaint form here. I got handed a complaint the other day on a post-it note. So I did create some complaint forms. You guys process you want to use for them, but I'll give you a copy. And if you want to use these, that'd be great. It makes it easier for me because this way I know what the complaint is. I know who received the complaint. They want to leave a name and number. But we came up with a little form. I don't know if we have one or not.
I never have.
So I do request though, every time there's a complaint that we use that form, I get 5% commission. I gotta check. Last thing I got, cause I was told I have a time limit here, so. I know last meeting or the meeting before I mentioned we're gonna have an officer back in school, not full time, but just to handle reports, a point of contact. Be there for school starting, release. So just the presence at the school, because we all know about active shooters and what could happen. I'm an active shooter response instructor. I'm a civilian response to active shooter events instructor. And I remember at the training, I think there was one school shooting, and hopefully I don't jinx it, where an officer was on scene at the school when there was an active shooter event. I don't think the suspect knew the officer was there. So being in our schools and protecting our staff and our students is very important, especially to me, being an instructor needs and have kiddos too. So want to be involved at the school as much as possible. So that being said, I was approached that there was a complaint that the officers spend too much time at the schools. I don't know if this was in the past or currently, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if it was up to me, I'd be at the school all day. I hate to say it. If I could, that's how important our kids are. Any parents would agree to that. That's not our intent though. Our intent isn't to spend 12 hours there. Okay, that's shift. School got hit a couple nights ago. People broke in, stole some stuff. I took the initial report, took the photos. The officer that's assigned to the school is going to follow up now. He's the point of contact. That's what the point of this position is. It's not a full-time position. It's not, I'm there at the school, that's all I'm doing. If they need anything, we're available. Okay, fundraisers, they're telling us about them, whatever they need. The school's been good to us already. They're gonna let us borrow a computer. I mentioned the computers. Until they're coming in, we're struggling. They're gonna let us borrow a computer because they have some extras. So it's a good relationship. What I gave you guys, because I had a meeting in that hour after that anonymous complaint that we spend too much time there with the principal, and she supplied a letter that I gave in front of you, which I'm going to read. So bear with me. I know this is cutting into my time. Village of Milan Board of Trustees. Milan Elementary would like to thank the Milan Police Department for their service over the years. Under Pat Salazar's administration, we saw an increase in presence at our school. And the multiple trainings our staff received were extremely helpful in making our staff and students feel prepared and safe. Unfortunately, when Chief Salazar left, so did the school support. I never even met the chief who replaced Pat Salazar. He did not take an initiative to come by the school. Since Chief Yustevsky has come on board, we've seen that support return. He has been instrumental in wanting to know about our policies in place and training. We've had to determine if there are any weak areas. Staff, students, and parents have noticed this presence and made comments. I've already discussed with him about a few trainings and drills that we will do with our staff and students. He is as determined as Pat was to ensure safety for all. GCC asked us to provide resource officers at the secondary schools. Elementary schools do not have this type of support. While we know that events and emergencies in the community come first, we are very happy to know that we will have the support of the PD in any way possible. We live in a crazy time where police are viewed in a negative light. This is insane, as police officers were always people we looked up to and knew they were there to protect us. Their presence at the school serves yet another purpose for our students, to see them in that role, to protect and support while understanding their job is to enforce laws. As partners with our school and other areas of the community, we offer services as a school as well to do anything we can to say thank you and provide services we are able to provide. We feel that same way about the fire department. and appreciate their support as well. The school is lucky to have the Village of Milan as a community support. It's very family-friendly and has a spirit and sense of community. We have over 500 staff and students combined. It's reassuring to know we have you all looking out for us. Thank you, Clara Diarmond, the principal. She didn't have to write that, but when I met with her, when Sergeant Valles met with her, I wanted to ask her, do you guys have a problem with us being here? Are we here too much? Are we annoying? Are we, you know, sometimes you go to a business and there's a police officer out front, they're gonna lose business, they're gonna elsewhere. If we're out front, is mom and dad not gonna bring their kids in because there's a cop here? She said no. So she wrote a letter, which was great. I appreciate it, just to show that she doesn't think we're there that much, and she appreciates what we're doing for her staff and the students. So, any questions?
I'm gonna have to sit with you and tell you what happened in the past. It's not the-
Okay.
For to have a police officer at the school, is it going to be the police that are on duty at that time, or is it going to be one specific person doing it?
The ones that are on duty, yes. And you know, it's, if we got some free time, we're gonna stop over, do our rounds. They set up an office. We have the computers in our squads, but just to stop in. I know when I'm there and I'm walking around, I've got students coming up to me, giving me high fives, fist bumps, and I talk to them, and it puts a smile on my face. I can't imagine what it's doing to those little kiddos. But if they can stop in, or even sit in the parking lot, it's more of a show of presence. If we have time, if we're gonna pull over somewhere to do a report, you know, stop in, do a report. But they're not gonna spend their whole shift there. Just to keep a point of contact for fundraisers, events, or whatever we can do to help them, and they're gonna return the favor, whatever we need, if they have stuff like a laptop.
So if there's an emergency, they'll get called out. They'll just
From there, yeah. I mean, there's no difference if they're sitting at Love's eating lunch. You know, they're still gonna get an emergency. We're still gonna get called out. If I can, if they're on the second floor, I'll see if they can put a pole so they can slide down and get out the door quicker. No. The fire guys are like that. They'll be over there all the time.
So mostly you're thinking of just in the morning, it'll start, and in the afternoon, slowly keep it up.
That's pretty much it. I remember when I used to work in Grants, I would see Chief Stevens out there directing traffic all the time, you know, and that's pretty much it. I mean, traffic flow, you know, just make sure everything's running smoothly. I'd anticipate beginning and end if we're not busy. They understand if we have calls or if we're backed up, we can't go over there. I mean, so. Yes. Yes. As a parent as well. And, you know, it's funny because every time I walk over there, I get something thrown at me and I got to do a report anyway. So it's almost, you know, it's like, God, it's more work to be over here with reports, but it's well worth it. I mean, it's just like I said, just a little fist pump. And, you know, if I'm having a bad day, which you guys all know me, I'm a cheerful person, but even I have bad days, you know, if the Buckeyes lose, you know, I might be upset, but a little fist bump and that's all. It means a lot. I mean, that kid might have made my day, you know, so.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're gonna give me 3 minutes?
We're gonna give you 3 minutes from now on.
Yeah.
Instead of the community.
I just like seeing them.
Okay, all other departments we have. We'll go through the action discussion items. First, we have a presentation, Elephant Road, American Rescue Plan.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. I'm Anna Larson from Cibola County. And if you can't see me, somebody might want to find me a box. The American Rescue Plan, the history of the ARP, the reason this came about is because through the Congress, they created the American Rescue Plan, and President Biden signed it into law on March 11th. And the Department of the Treasury is overseeing the funds, and they've released their interim rule on May 10th. And a bunch of frequently asked questions and all that sort of stuff. But what we know right now is that there's 8.26 million in funding for all three entities. You can see their grants is about 2.2 million, county 5.17 million, and the village of Milan will get 907,000. So that's the funding sources that are available. And what we've done so far is the county, the village, and the city have all met together. So we've discussed all of these projects, and we've reviewed all the rules and the regulations, of which there's about 135 pages of it. So there's a whole lot of things that, that we have to deal with. And we identified projects that were compared with the rules that were set by the Department of the Treasury and all the legislation. And we had some great ideas.
We had 3 pages of great ideas, all these wonderful ideas.
And then we looked at the rules and said, nope, can't do that one. Nope, that one won't work either. No. So we did a list of projects for each entity and for the whole county and all of the residents that were based on the rules that we have. So we have this big list of rules. We can support public health. We could address some of the economic harm and economic impacts. We could replace some of the lost public sector revenue. But in doing so, that they have this really strict reporting and calculation methods. So if you didn't really see a loss in revenue due to your GRTs were sound or whatever,
Which you did not, and we did not.
then we can't use that whole chunk of the funding in that way. So we have to use it in other ways. We could provide extra premium pay for some essential workers, or we could invest in specifically water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So we also looked at what we cannot use it for. So pension funds, you could not make any extraordinary deposits into a pension fund. You could not reduce the next net tax revenue, so you couldn't give a tax decrease to the residents. You can also not deposit it in rainy day funds or reserves. And the general infrastructure that's outside of the water, sewer, and broadband, that would be roads, bridges, or routine maintenance such as cleaning ditches, does not qualify unless you had significant decrease in revenue loss. You can't use it for legal settlements or judgments or to fund debt service. And you can also not use it to match federal funds such as the Clean Water or the Drinking Water Acts.
So she's we call her the Debbie Downer because every time we have a great idea, she says no. So there you go.
So
That also fall into personal needs.
yes, and we have projects that are going to help them. We're when we go through this, you'll see what we think we're going to do. So this we discussed on these slides, and we had a representative from the village, a representative from the city grants, and Cibola County. And our intent was to find those projects that fit within the rules that would benefit the greatest number of people. And we still have projects to be evaluated. So this is not a complete and encompassing list. There's still other potential projects that we can use it for. Because if you look at our timeline, only half the funds are going to be received this year. So we don't even have everything. The county's already received our funds. Grants and Milans are still pending. The second half is going to be distributed in a year from the date they received the new funds. We have to encumber them or spend them by 2024. Only if the money is encumbered can you spend it on past that into 2026. So the funding is not an all immediate, and it's not all in one lump sum. This is the countywide projects that we looked at. So we're talking about partnering with Red Bolt Broadband. They gave us a really good proposal to expand broadband in the areas that they don't already have funding. They're basically requesting a match to the funding they already have to expand broadband. And the benefits are it gives increase in GRT sales on the internet. It allows for remote work so people can do work from home options. And that helps increase our economic base as well as enhancing our connectivity for emergency services and telehealth. We've heard some information about Elkins Road today with the citizens. What we're looking at here is to create the drainage master plan, which was done about 10 years ago, which was also a collaborative effort between the village, the city, and the county. It identified that there was an issue with the drainage on Elkins Road, and that's been more than 10 years ago. So we can use these funds to help alleviate that. So what we would like to do is put some of that money into the planning and design of a complete drainage system and work together with the county, the city of Granson, the village of Milan to also apply for other federal funds. Because once we have a design and we have the drainage issue lined out, the other funding is specific road funding from different sources that we could use to repair and possibly widen or bring that road up to better standards all throughout. Because I know over by the car wash with the dip, right? So we want to do with the ARP funds, we would work on the drainage. With other funds, if we have an agreement together, all three entities, we can apply for the funding with the RTPO and do another project to work on that road.
Can I add something to this? When we were discussing this, it was really, I learned a lot about this road and what the needs are. And while we're having these discussions with all our three entities, we even talked about the Milan Industrial Park. And we thought about how this would benefit that, but also the railroad. You want to explain how that?
So the Milan Industrial Park, the accesses that you currently have to the industrial park do require crossing the railroad tracks. And Elkins Road is the only road that doesn't cross the railroad tracks in that way. And so if there's a backup or problems at the railroad track crossings, Elkins Road could be used to get in and out of the industrial park as well. And that's, an alternate route for those kinds of things. So that was one of our considerations on that. And then you asked about the small businesses. And one of the things that we wanted to do is business boot camps and pop-up business and trainings. And this came about because of the outdoor recreation funding that the city of Grants had gotten last year. And they talked about a plan. And in that plan, they identified having business boot camps. And so we'll be able to use this funding to support that initiative and work on getting, helping attract new businesses and giving them the training they need to be successful businesses.
And keeping the small businesses here by assisting them and guiding them of what they need.
That was my next question.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
that's, yeah. this is
So
what-
they can attend the business boot camps and the pop-up businesses. Say for example, we've got some people who just do like the handmade soaps and lotions, and they're too small to have their own retail space. With this program, we can work on a space that's a shared space between multiple businesses, and they can come in and pop up and put their table down in one corner and somebody else is in the other corner, and that sort of stuff. So,
Yes.
sort of like
Something
that, yes.
Yes.
This last one that the countywide project is Text My Gov. We've had some demos with it, and this is a really interesting project. What it allows for is for the city residents to text in and ask questions or offer complaints. So just say, for example, somebody wants to know how to pay their water bill
In the village.
and in the village, and text water bill, village, pay the bill or whatever. And it gives them all the links they need or all the information they need, how to go about paying their water bill. Or if they want to know what time the pool is open or
meeting.
when the meeting is, all of these things they can text that number and get an automatic response. So
Fireburn, if there's a fire burn, we can do an automatic notice to everybody.
and it goes both ways. So
Yes.
we can text out and say everybody who's registered or subscribed to the service, there's when like if there's that railroad when the train's derailed, if there has to be an evacuation, you can text it out. You can text out snow closures or water leaks or anything that you want to do. So each entity through this program is actually being given a discount because when we talked to them, they offered us a significant discount. The county's portion is here. The Village Milan's is on their page, and you'll see it's not a very expensive program to use. So let's go to the city of grants. So the city of grants, we talked about their projects, and these are some of their projects also. They are talking about upsizing their, oops, I hit it one too many times. Go backwards. Go back. Oh, previous, there we go. So they want to upgrade their water service over by the rodeo grounds. And they have funding to get to Blue Spruce, but they don't have the rest of the funding after that to go all the way down to the rodeo grounds. But if they do upsize that water service over there, then there's parcels in there that can benefit from that for economic development because they only have a 2-inch line. They want to upgrade it to a 6-inch line. So they're looking at that. They're looking at their wastewater treatment plant, their blowers all
You
went
saw on the
kaput.
front page about
Um,
that. Can I clarify something that was put on the front page that needs to be corrected? The county did not lend the city 200,000 because we can't do that, right? Government to government. That was a error in the editor's writing. What we did is because we've received the 50% and the city and the village had not, they needed to purchase these quickly, and we can with this money. Because we're working together, we were able to do that because in the future, it's gonna come around. It's gonna come around so everybody can benefit from it. And we really need to get that done because of the septic. It was a pretty dire time, so that's why we did that. We didn't lend any money.
So they're also talking about managing their sludge better because they're currently paying thousands of dollars to transport the sludge to the landfill.
$6,000 a month.
And if they manage it in-house, it's going to be some upfront costs, but then it's going to decrease their costs at the end. And again, we all talked about the Text My Gov, so they're interested in the Text My Gov as well. The Village of Milan projects, and again, these are just these are not final. We're not asking you to approve any of them at the moment. This is just what we came up with that met these rules.
But they meet
okay?
the rules.
So your water meter replacements where that'll improve your accuracy on your meter readings, the safety of the touchless meters, and it'll save your, basically be saving money for you. The lift station repairs and replacement for your water and sewer issues, and helping with the well 35 diagnostics and possible repairs, and also the text my gov. But this is not, I mean, you can look them over, and this is not the absolute final say so right here. But these meet the stipulations of the rules, and these probably will benefit the most largest number of residents within your community. We have additional projects that we're still evaluating. Over on Mount Taylor, there's drainage issues. We've also talked about having countywide drainage inspections, repairs. We've talked about having a countywide broadband plan, which is really important because Red Bolt has not been able to receive some of their funding because the county didn't have a broadband plan. So we can put some money into that. We're looking at potential communications repeaters for the first responders.
Across this county, so we're upgrading.
Countywide. Some firewall or security server upgrades are potential eligible projects. And we're also discussing water conservation plans and implementations that would help with reducing water usage and making our water last longer for everybody. So we've all worked together, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
When do we do it? So I mean, we've worked a lot. We've had a lot of meetings, multiple meetings, and we plan on having more. But what we're trying to do is we've now presented to the county, the city, and now the village, and we want to keep everybody in tune, and we want everyone to know the same thing. So you know how rumors can fly, and with a lot of money like this, we need to make sure that we have the facts, and then we know what we can do and what we can't do. And if we can work together, I think it's going to benefit more people. So we will continue to keep you informed. We will always have people from the village to come to these meetings. They're very interesting. We learn a lot, and we'll be back. So if you've got any ideas, throw them, and we can say yes or no, or we can look into them, and someone will say no all the time, and then it will be, but at least we know, right? So then if your neighbor comes to you and says, we could do this and that, you'll have a little bit more information now that this is what we're doing. We know about it.
You can't do that.
Yeah, and you're aware of the regulations and the federal, you here's the money, but you can't do this and this and this and this and this and this. So they're basically really pushing for broadband and drainage.
And water.
And water. Those three. Those are the main three that they really want us to utilize the money for. So thank you for taking the time and listening. And if you've got any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I myself want to say I appreciate all your hard work and everything that you're doing. It's about time that the entities come together for the entire
I
community.
agree. It's been great. You're very welcome.
Good presentation.
Don't say that. They don't. You need to talk to them. When I actually was asked to leave because of my attitude the other week, wasn't I? They told me to go home because my attitude was that bad. Anyway,
Good presentation.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Yeah, Michael Steineberg's good.
Val, Lee,
Yeah, you too.
Have a good night.
Good
thank you for
presentation.
everything you all do. Thank you for including us.
Okay, moving on, we have a resolution 2021-01.
Okay, so at the workshop, I told you that we had gotten an agreement for It's a 142,183 plus a 47,394 match. So it's a total of 189,577. We need to accept the agreement. So the first resolution will be to accept the agreement. And if you notice the next resolution on the agenda, we need a separate vote, but that is for the match waiver. That's to apply for the match waiver. So we haven't been granted it yet.
Do we already have this lined out for what we're gonna use it on?
Yes, this is the funding that will be used at the soccer field for the parking lot.
The second,
Motion by trustee Ezquelita, second by trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Ezquelita. Trustee Baca.
yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem Gamboa. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution 2021-017, match waiver request.
So this one will go out to the state and we should find out by end of September, early October if we're granted the match waiver.
October.
End of September, early October is normally when they let us know.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gamboa, second by trustee Lopez. Trustee Baca.
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Gamboa. Trustee Ezquelita. Trustee Lopez.
yes,
Okay, next we have a decision of contract for fire. Oh, okay, we have a new powers agreement, and then
So this is the Municipal League Self-Insurers Fund. This joint powers agreement is between all of the entities. It's an update to the existing agreement in order for them to move forward and make any changes. They do have to have all of the entities in agreement with their.
Yeah.
No, this one,
this year we can do this.
we haven't done this one, I think, in about 5 years.
No way.
motion by trustee Ezquelita, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gamboa. Trustee Baca.
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Gamboa. Trustee Ezquelita. Trustee Lopez.
yeah,
Okay, next we have the decision of contract for fire.
So this is just for you guys to let me know, I've given you all a copy of the ordinance. Do you want to move forward and pursue a contract, or do we want to make amendments to the ordinance?
we have a copy of that in here.
Yes, it's in your packet. Not labeled, I don't have an agenda. To this ordinance, if you guys direct me to amend the ordinance, I can do that. It does take about 30 days to make an amendment to an ordinance because it is a law. So we do have to advertise.
What is the change? I don't know.
It's in your, it's in your agenda. I got it, should be labeled. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the one that was given out at the workshop.
Oh,
It was the ordinance that was given out at the workshop. That's why it's not in your packet. I'm sorry. Where did it go? Sorry.
75 years, we're gonna have to.
I know. It's totally up to you guys. I mean, a contract will cover both chief and us.
okay, and then amendment.
Basically, just saying we're not a fire contract. Right now, state that she's contract.
This ordinance only addresses fire chief,
It is fire chief.
just the fire chief. It does not address the police chief. Or
They're basically saying, salary,
yeah, it'll basically be like his job description laid out.
I know, so essentially, I would rather.
Well, I think they brought it, I think it was brought on right when we got two funds. But we
The
never did
ordinance was
write
done
one.
in 2005.
Yeah, but we never had one.
No, he never did have a
So I think they put the ordinance in. Mrs. Colburn, do you have some input for us? So. What would you like to know? Well, you're
Yeah.
if we,
No contract is salary. Yeah. It's a set salary. for company.
in other words,
Did the other fire chief, did he get the overtime hours or was he salary? He was salary? Oh, okay. I think we kind of need to look a little bit more into it.
yeah, it would be in our,
A contract will cover not only you, but him as well. So, I mean, that way both parties are covered. So, I know we're gonna have a special meeting soon for budget issues. If you guys are okay with me drafting a contract, do you want me to send it to an attorney, the lead? Do you guys wanna review it? How do you want me to handle that?
I think the future is the young person to any legal issues.
I think we should schedule the meeting first. We had enough meeting to do. They're free. No, why with the attorney, no, we don't want to call the attorney, we want to call the lead, call them directly, because they're free.
Well, either way.
You know, that we pay our dues, we do pay them. So, okay, what I can do is I can go ahead and draft this contract, I've got one in the works, I'm looking on a couple of things. And then, send it to the league and get their approval, and then I'll present it to you guys, because it will need a vote. So hopefully I can have that ready by the session. That's fine. There is not an ordinance that I was able to find that says he needs a contract. State statute covers us all in different ways. Some of your appointed positions are considered executive positions, so they're not at liberty to claim overtime. They're considered exempt. So it just depends on where.
Do you want these back?
Okay, so you don't need a vote. I'll move forward with a contract, and then at the special meeting, you guys will have to vote.
Okay, we have a closed session limited person on the. That 50, that's one. Two, and the same, that's the village manager and fire. Motion by trustee Escobedo, second by, trustee Lopez, trustee Lopez. Trustee Escobedo, trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Vazquez.
Yes.
I'm going to leave my stuff. I am going to turn this off.
So that lady that was the county manager? The other
did
one? Oh, I
good,
didn't know who
Mr.
that was,
Lynn.
with the accent. Oh, she's going.
Mr. Lynn,
Paluti. I didn't know who those people were. Oh, okay. That makes
he's up there.
makes sense.
He's in that
Motion by Trustee Vieta, to go back into the session, seconded by Trustee Fernandez. Trustee Chico, Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Pat. We are now in the session. Mayor, statement regarding the closed session, there was no decision. Next, we move to personnel, and, this month, check what it is that the employee is like, because it's been like, and that part, and people can realize, it's very new. And here the item for the use and working. And we have the project. Hey, this is going to be, board,
Congratulations to Jack Miller for being employee of the month. Well deserved.
I want to thank all the people that are looking for it. I'd like to make a statement there that, you know, anytime the employees want to know anything or whatnot, and anybody else, there's, what I'm doing at my property, you don't have to go to a second or third person, you can come and ask me directly, I'll tell you what's happening over there, and who's there, and why they're there. Congratulations on being your new fire chief. I hope we find you a second-hand person. And I would also like to tell you to Eric, appreciate his hard work. And you're doing awesome with this tonight. And thank you both for fixing the problems.
Um, and, we have to really, they have really, to keep the straight road to the beautiful. I asked, we have to,